Greetings, denizens of the tri-state area. Jacob Weil here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And Dragon, I know what we're going to do today. We're going to activate the Recap-inator and discuss my favorite cartoon, Phineas and Ferb. That's right. In honor of the 15th anniversary and in preparation for the upcoming revival, I'm guiding Blue Dragon 5 through the series, experiencing his reactions watching it for the first time, and reliving my summer memories through the years. Today's episodes are The Fast and the Phineas and Lawn Gnome Beach Party of Terror. Funny thing, Dragon. Yesterday was actually the official 15th anniversary.
Really?
Yep, technically it did air a couple episodes as previews throughout 2007, but as far as Disney Plus is concerned, and as Dan revealed yesterday, the official series premiere where it started airing regularly was actually February 2nd, 2008.
Well, you could have mentioned something. We could have bumped things up a day.
I was like, I had no idea the exact day.
And you're our expert.
Yeah, I'm the expert, but I don't know. I remember every single day. And like I said, technically, I thought I was counting more 15th anniversary from when it initially premiered after High School Musical 2. Right. Anyway. But I digress. And funnily enough, it was actually with one of the episodes we were discussing today. So we already have a comment. And it was just LEB saying hello. Hello, LEB.
Hello.
All right. So the first episode on the docket is today's is Fast and the Phineas. So Dragon, thoughts?
Yeah, so the Fast and the Phineas. Jacob, you want to put the thing up?
Yes, right, sorry, the banner, right. Sorry.
Yeah. So this is a fun broad one. I think this one's very much kind of like the Candace kind of Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner shenanigans. In this case, literalized. Yeah, that's very much this one. This one's very much putting the whole okay. So we've established what kind of the basic kind of the Bible of the show is essentially what the the usual formula is. In this case, we turned it Formula One. Yeah. We have the. We have Candace trying to get the boys in trouble, and we've taken even more kind of cartoony and broad lengths, and we're just kind of showing. It seems like to me it's showing like how far can we push things, and this is probably the infancy of how far we can in fact push things. So yeah, this was a fun one.
In a way, yeah, it's like in this episode you just notice it's just Candace running back and forth between houses trying to get them busted or trying to. Speaking of which, that was the first time she ever said those words. Is Candace saying "busted" is actually the first time she actually says that in this.
There episode. You go. There's an earmark for you.
Yep, which is actually part of some background, but I'm going to digress.
No.
But so it's technically more grounded than it is than other instances. At least hers anyway. Meanwhile, you have Phineas and Ferb having the car go back and forth, switching their hair pieces. And then blasting off into space. And then the car blasting off into space. Meanwhile, Candace's is more grounded, and hers does get more exaggerated, obviously, as the series goes on. But yeah, this is kind of the one really to more establish the show's usual formula. And as I will divulge, it actually does have a lot of firsts that became series staples, at least in terms of production order. Do you want me to go into context on those, or do you have any more thoughts you want to discuss?
No, yeah, go ahead.
All right. It's this is actually the first appearances of Isabella's mom.
Oh, so this is Isabella's mom.
Yeah, Vivian Garcia Shapiro. That
I didn't know. I didn't know that was Isabella's mom. Okay.
Yep, Isabella's full name is Isabella Garcia Shapiro.
Oh, nice.
If you look closely at the background in Garcia Shapiro's house, you can actually see a picture of Isabella.
Okay.
But yeah, and she's voiced by a lady named Eileen Galindo. I don't know exactly what she's famous for, but But that's voice. And something I think you might have gotten a kick out of. This is actually the first episode to feature the famous Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated jingle.
Bro, you sure this is the first time we've used it?
Yep, in terms of production order, yes.
Okay.
Because it wasn't in. Because remember, we didn't hear it in Roller Coaster. And
yeah, but it wasn't in the other one.
Because remember, the other one was when they went to Mount Rushmore and was nowhere even close to Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated.
Right.
So at least in terms of production order, this is the first time we ever hear Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated.
Okay.
Something else you may have noticed, this is also the first of a couple instances where Ferb doesn't speak at all.
Yeah? Oh, yeah, you're right. He doesn't speak at all in this one.
Yep, he participates in the episode. He drives the car and plays the keyboard during the song. But other than that, he doesn't speak. There's at least a couple more where he doesn't. But this is the earliest example as such. And of course, most famously, first episode. Let's see. It also references the fact that they're in Jefferson County for the first time.
That is true. That I did notice.
We've already referenced the fact that it takes place in Danville, which is obviously named after Dan Bobenmeyer, the co-creator. But the county is obviously named after Jeff Swampy Marsh, the other co-creator of the show. So it's a way to incorporate both of their names into the setting of the show.
Yeah.
And one thing that might have inspired this episode is actually, funnily enough, you've mentioned earlier, Swampy is actually a fan of racing. Like he's actually a motorsports fan.
Oh.
And according to the research I was able to dig up, 42 is actually the number. It's actually the number of Juan Pablo Montoya at the time the show was made, which is apparently Swampy's favorite driver. And something I don't know if you noticed, but did you notice did you see the two announcers in there? They're actually Dan and Swampy lookalikes.
Oh.
That's basically what they looked like at the time the show was made.
Okay, kind of pulling a kind of a Clements and Musker there. All right.
A little bit, yeah, and you occasionally see them as background characters in future episodes.
Sure.
Here they're not actually voiced by Dan and Swampy, whereas later they would be.
Okay.
I think because I don't think they're even meant to be the same characters. I think they're just meant to be stand-ins.
Right.
Of course, and that's basically all the background I have for this one.
Okay.
So now we have another comment. Ellie B says, "Love me some PNF."
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you notice, Dragon, our previous video on Roller Coaster and Kansas Lizard Head actually has over 100 views now. So it actually is getting some numbers.
You know, the only difference between P and F is
what?
One line.
Yep. Or a curve, depending on how you write it.
All right, fine. One curve.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Again, talking about my personal history with the episode, this is one that I caught, later on after the show had began. But again, it does appeal to me because I'm actually a bit of a fan of racing myself. I kind of fell out of it, or I've kind of fallen out of it. But at the time, I was quite into it. Like I said, I remember watching a lot of NASCAR races, and I even share a birthday with one of my favorite NASCAR drivers too. So there's some fun facts there. But yeah, looking back on it, okay, so that's about it for this one. So highlights.
Yeah, let's talk through kind of the things that jumped out at us in the episode. All right.
And keep in mind, folks, these won't be as long as the previous episode we did because that was more establishing the overall background of the entire show, and that took up a lot of time.
Yeah.
So
this episode we have a random racetrack that happens to be across from the fence this week.
Yep. We just happened to see it and we never see it again.
Geography's a myth, kids. Don't let anyone else tell you different.
Yeah, it's like you don't even see it in the opening establishing shot.
Nope. But next one we're gonna have a different location behind the fence.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I love my favorite logical thing of this episode. I love the fact that the boys again are. I think here we firmly said, as you said in the last episode, they were kind of figuring out from the pilot. They were kind of figuring out Phineas, and I think they kind of realized, no, we got to make him squeaky clean. You know, they got to make the boys squeaky clean, so it makes us against what Candace is trying to do. So in doing so, Phineas here. I love that they're playing by the rules here, but they're loving those loopholes. You know, it's the fact that you two aren't old enough to drive. Well, duh.
Duh.
Yeah,
So Ferb invented the remote control.
I love that logic. I love the logic that they're gonna soup up mom's car, but they're not gonna drive it. Oh heavens no! They're gonna use remote control for it. It's great.
It is good logic, though. I mean, technically,
I know. Yeah.
and it's not. Funnily enough, they use that kind of logic another time in a later episode in the series too.
I gotta be honest. It makes me really want their father to be a lawyer, but I know that's not the case.
Like their family actually works in antiques.
Yeah. Oh wait, they do?
Yeah, they work in antiques.
Huh.
Like the Flint Fletchers own an antique store.
Oh, cool. All right. So, so this is interesting. So this time around, we have a very public, very televised setting. So seemingly the odds are stacked for a change in Candace's favor because the universe would simply have to be against her. Not that we can make a movie about that. The universe would have to be against her for her not to get them caught doing what they're doing this time. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
So we have Candace meeting Mrs. Garcia Shapiro, which again, I love the theme of blending here, but it's not in your face blending. It's just kind of there. Which the whole idea she's assumingly been remarried. I take it. It seems like
I'm not. It's not explicitly mentioned because unlike with the Flint Fletchers, we don't ever see the fact that she remarried because she's the only parent of Isabella's we ever see.
I'm saying judging on the.
But what's more interesting about that is the fact that Isabella is technically from a Mexican Jewish family.
That's what I was about to get at, Jacob. But it's interesting to me that it definitely seems like because she's using like Bobby or Bobola, I think, and with Garcia. I don't know. So there is definitely kind of a mixed family aspect there, which is really cool.
Like I said, I'm not so sure mixed. Like I said, that part is never explicitly mentioned. Like I said, because we never see or hear anything about Isabella's father.
Well, I'm saying, Jake, even if we don't see him, it's just the fact the last name has a hyphen.
I guess. Well, some people just hyphenate their names even without getting, they get married and they don't take their last names. Sometimes they just hyphenate it. So I'm just saying it's not explicitly clear.
Okay, all right.
And just like with the biological parents of other biological parents, it just wasn't important to the story they were trying to tell.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So okay. So let's see. So of all the Candace shenanigans of her going back and forth to this racetrack and then back to interrupt Mom's bridge game, I do call BS on the one where Candace not looking at the photo she seemingly had just torn up, and she's going all the way there and she didn't look at it once. Really?
Well, she's excitable.
Yeah, clearly it's just anyway. I do love it. I do love this though when they're initially bringing her out and then before they go to the racetrack and like, Mom, look at what the boys did. And of course, the fact that she had like, hey, where's Mom? Just had to ask them to find her. But secondly, is the fact this is so cute to me. I love these bits with Linda, which we get in this episode where she comes out and there's like, hi Mom, hi boys. It's just so cute, and then at the end, she's so darn proud of him for seemingly cleaning her car.
Yep, and they have no idea.
I'm so proud of you boys for what you did today. Thanks, Mom. And they're thinking, oh, you might have saw us on the racetrack. Oh,
the innocence of youth.
It's delightful.
And ambiguous dialogue.
Yeah.
It's like, and you can tell when this episode was kind of made because it was made in the mid 2000s because Candace has a flip phone to take her picture with.
See, here's the other. Well, no, that's the thing. There's a big plot. There is kind of a plot when you think about it. I'm not going to say plot in the aggressive sense, but something occurs to you, like a logic thing here, where if Candace has a camera phone, even in the rudimentary flip phone, don't you think she'd have a much easier time getting dirt on Phineas and Ferb?
You'd think.
Right? You'd think. I mean, even if it's not a great picture, I mean, hey, racetrack, there he is.
Yeah, I mean, It's clearly she didn't think that through, perhaps. And as you said, like maybe camera phones weren't as good back then.
Yeah, I guess that'll have to be.
And then again, it's kind of hard to take a picture, take a selfie even back then with those flip phones.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. It's clearly she didn't think it through, and it would ruin the plot anyway.
Doing yet again, just with Candace.
I mean, to quote an episode of Ed, Edd n Eddy, it's like, what? And ruin the plot?
Good. It's good.
I mean, I don't know if you remember that.
No, I remember it. No, it's good.
I mean, remember, these characters don't necessarily have to act rationally, and it is within character for Candace to forget that she has a camera phone.
No,
even though later on she does think about that.
Like, does she ever use that camera phone to try and get dirt on them?
Well, she uses multiple kinds of cameras in different times to bust them, but it never
She's
works.
like the world's worst photographer then.
Like, usually out of no fault of her own does it fail.
Okay, I got you. All right.
Let's just say outside intervention.
Yet again, this is going to be interesting when we get between this episode and the next episode. Again, per usual, Candace just can't get out of her own way here. We're like, look, there's Jeremy. They just have a good time watching racing. Maybe she could root for her brother. Is she going to do that? Heck no.
But of course, public humiliation kicks in when they think she's a screaming fan.
God, yeah, they're putting her on like the big...
not the most flattering video they could have used.
The Jumbotron thing's really funny.
Yeah, not the most flattering video they could have used.
Yeah. Well, apparently in slow-mo, it's like it's what it's like.
Yep.
All right, so also Ferb, just during the racing, I love Ferb's move with the battery.
Like he just plugs it into the controller and it instantly goes fast.
Also, what's the was it Fireside Girls? Is that what we call the Girl Scouts here?
Yes, they're called the Fireside Girls.
The Fireside Girls and Isabella, so darn helpful. I love them as the pit crew.
They're basically able to help Phineas and Ferb with whatever they need to do.
Yeah.
And in fact, some of their later plans are actually because of what the Fireside Girls need to do in the first place.
Okay.
Like the ones used in this episode, their names are rarely ever said, but like Isabella, obviously, there's Katie, Addison, Holly, Gretchen, which you've probably heard the name, Ginger, and Millie.
Okay.
Like Ginger, I mean, like Katie has the blonde hair, Addison is the one. Holly has the afro hair, Gretchen's the one with glasses, Ginger's the one that looks like Stacy, and Millie's the one with the curly brown hair.
Is she related to Stacy?
Technically, yes, but it wasn't revealed until season 4.
Oh.
I don't know if it was always intentional or they just like yeah, or just decide she's her sister.
I just think it'd be really funny if they just it was kind of like not laziness, but if it was just kind of like happenstance of like, man, we drew this character look a lot like this other character. What do we do? I don't know. Let's just say they're related.
I mean, technically, Swampy revealed that on Twitter in season 3, but it was never revealed until season 4.
Okay. I mean, he revealed it was just like a happenstance thing.
It was someone asked on Twitter, are they sisters? And he's like, yes, they're sisters.
Okay. All right. So let's speak. You said Swampy, didn't you?
Yes, Swampy.
Okay. Well, this is gonna be a bad transition then. Let's talk about Dan Povenmire.
Okay.
Talk about Dan Povenmire by proxy of Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated.
Which the Doofenshmirtz Evil Blimp.
Yes,
which, as I mentioned earlier, is actually the first time we hear the jingle.
Which is great. I love it's like in a sponsorship sort of thing. They're being sponsored by Evil.
Evil. Evil. Yeah, at least he's honest about it.
Yeah. Not
that everybody believes him, though.
Well, let's be honest. If you're going to be evil, a blimp's nice.
Yeah, a blimp is nice. Not always... Though he doesn't always think it through, though.
Oh, God, no, especially with this plot. So this plot is, this is quite ingenious. Well, it's stupid, don't get me wrong, to quote Knives Out. No, it's just dumb. I love that. One, Perry constantly is in the same place as the boys, wherever they happen to be with these Doofenshmirtz plots. They're in very close proximity. It's so far, it seems.
Well, yeah, you'll see that even later on.
Oh, I'd imagine so. Anyway, so the plan is Doofenshmirtz is in this blimp that has on the blimp, just remember, kiddies, on the balloon, the deflator ray. So the deflator ray, he's going to use it essentially to leverage Jefferson County by deflating all the tires, and they'll have to basically bow to his. He'll have a monopoly on anything that needs to be flated.
Yeah, it's not the most well thought out idea.
Well, especially with exactly how he's going to do it. So, he tests this out. I love he doesn't test it out any of the necessarily. I mean, at first, I don't think he tests it out in the car. If you get accident.
The first thing he tries down is that beach ball that's being thrown around.
So, did he actually intentionally fire at the cars later in the episode, or am I misremembering that?
I don't think he did. I think he tried. I think it got accidentally fired, and then it just hit his blimp.
Well, I know that, but I mean, okay, so then that caused the wreck on the track, right?
Yeah, what happened was what caused the wreck was the beach ball flying onto one of the windshield.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay, thank you. All right, yes. So I love that. It very innocently just pops the balloon, and then it causes this car pile-up wreck. So he hasn't really. I love this. He hasn't done anything necessarily evil. Had he fired at the car, that would have been evil because he was trying to, he would have hurt somebody intentionally. But the ball, though, the ball was it was a little ball. What's going to happen? Of course, causes multi-car pilot. Anyway, so
which of course Phineas avoids because Ferb's driving. It's like they can see the entire track at once.
That was a really smart joke, by the way. So,
and Ferb's just like. Thumbs up.
So you mentioned something akin to this last episode we should talk about that seemingly in season 1 we are getting very brutal with the Doofenshmirtz defeats, and this one's possibly more brutal than the first episode with the screw, the literal screw you in the foot. This is pretty brutal. So Brandon Platypus is he's in a cage, and what he does is he fires to one of the air holes because Doofenshmirtz is he's conscious of he doesn't want to necessarily outright kill Perry Platypus. He doesn't want Pete on him, it seems. Has he actually tried to kill Perry, or is it just just to capture him?
It kind of varies. It kind of varies. I mean, some things they could kill him, but some things technically could kill him because he. I don't know if you remember Norm from some of the later episodes.
Yeah, what about Norm?
He introduced him as a killer robot man. So it's entirely he intended him for him to capture him or kill him, but it's. And I don't think it was established later on that they're just, a trap.
Well, regardless, Perry using one of the air holes, he uses kind of this makeshift kind of crossbow, this collapsible crossbow thing in his briefcase that he can pull out of hammer space.
And LEB says, I feel like he stopped trying to kill him later on.
Oh, for sure, I'd imagine so. Yeah, that's because they're buddies at that point. They're it's like Tom and Jerry, but only what if they more often than not saw themselves as buddies rather than I'm going to try and stop you because that's what the namesake is.
The funny thing is the mouse that you're about to mention was actually powering the deflator.
Yes, so so we have the power source of the deflator, which is a little mouse on a hamster wheel. And Perry Platypus, in his little briefcase, in addition to this collapsible crossbow, he does not fire an arrow to kill Doofenshmirtz, thank goodness.
Emergency cheese.
He has emergency cheese, and he uses a stinky piece of cheese, provolone, whatever, I don't know. He used a stinky piece of cheese, and he fires it. He fires it in Doofenshmirtz's pants, and you get a sense that This I don't know. This feels somewhat kind of Dan Povenmire pulling from his Family Guy days because if it were any other network there would have been a butt crack there.
Yeah, probably. It's
yeah.
Aqua Desert wasn't Norm introduced because Duke discovered the enemy of Platypus was man. Yes, he was.
That's really funny.
and which LEB confirms as well. To answer your question though, yes, he was. Hey, it's obligatory, Dragon.
I know. I love that gag too. The whole. We thought he looked a little young for a racer. Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
Okay.
That's basically brought up in almost every single episode.
I get it. It's kind of the whole I got a bad feeling about this from Star Wars. It's going to be in there.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah.
So He fires the emergency cheese down Doofenshmirtz's pants.
And that mouse goes crazy and goes in there, and the yells that Doofenshmirtz utters are very horrifying. Just he's basically Richard Geared him. It ain't
like,
pretty.
I don't see how it's really brutal though, because I don't think the mouse is biting him. I think he was just crawling around his pants.
I don't. I mean, I think he's burrowing in there, buddy. I don't think that's. Oh, you saw that shriek that he let out. I'm saying like that again. It feels like if there might have been a butt crack drawn there, and that mouse is going in deep for that. That is not pretty.
Like, yeah, I'm not saying it was pretty. I'm just saying I don't know if that's what they were going for.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for.
I mean, as you've noticed, this show does have some adult humor in it. So
that's what I'm saying. I think they're pushing the line. I think that's what they were going for. I think they're going for like they didn't show any underpants. That was it went down the pants, and that mouse is going after that cheese.
Well, I don't honestly because I'm not so sure about that, because there are episodes later where we do see Doofenshmirtz in his underwear.
Well, I'm not saying he does that all the time. I'm saying, however they did it, I don't know why. I don't even need to know why. I don't want to know why, quite frankly. But I'm thinking that that mouse is hunting for that cheese rather aggressively, and I feel bad for Doofenshmirtz in this case. I got to be frank. I think Perry stepped over the line. I think he did. So all he was going to do was deflate tires, And again, we saw the damage. The damage was already done. If we're being frank, the racetrack. I mean, Phineas had his win. He helped the boy win a prize. I don't know. I don't think what evil was done here necessarily.
No. It's like and LEBS, we need to ask Dan on TikTok about this.
Yeah, someone should.
They say Dan's very active on TikTok.
Yeah.
So, like, he actually posts a lot of his videos on YouTube too. So someone should ask him that. Honestly, I don't. Although then again, it has been over 15 years, so I don't know if he even remembers.
Well, if he really loves us, he'll know.
But regardless of whether he was crawling in inappropriate places or not, he does let out the shriek, which breaks Perry free from his glass trap.
I'm saying, Jacob, that broke glass, that shriek. I don't think he was just. I don't think it was like little rat feet, walking around, man. I know. Anyway, yeah, you're right. Breaks the glass, and he fires the ray, and it hits a very convenient mirror.
You'll be surprised how many convenient mirrors there are in Danville.
God, and the convenient mirror reflects it back again. Very poor place to fire your deflatinator in a blimp.
It's like, I suppose I should have seen that coming.
Then they have a fight on. Basically, they carjack Phineas after he's getting his prize and everything.
Well, that happens first though. Is that like what happens is like the blimp crashing down interrupts the broadcast that Candace is trying to show Linda.
Just frantically. Oh, okay. So here's a runner between two episodes here about the multiple remotes, and now you need to label all these remotes and everything. So Linda's initially trying to, like, Mom, I need you to put on the TV. Like, oh, that's the stereo. Mom, okay. Dangerous commercial. Candace, you're trying to tell me something. Then, of course, broadcast goes out when Candace has to run all the way over there.
And of course the reference to Hindenburg.
Yep, and then
the humanity.
We also have kind of a vague Muppet reference with Meep.
Like it's kind of funny you should mention that, because there actually is a character later on called Meep.
Really?
Yep, voiced by Lorenzo Lamas, actually.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, wait till you see him.
Okay, so. Point being, does it bother you at all? The boys aren't concerned at all about Mom's car being stolen. They're a little too relaxed right there.
Yeah, guess we're walking.
I mean, I like they took it in stride. I like they're not freaking out about it. It just feels a little like, really? You're not at all concerned about? I mean, look, I get that you didn't really necessarily break any rules because you didn't drive it, but I don't know. You didn't really ask permission, and it's stolen now. It's not good.
Well, as we see it all worked out in the end, and maybe Phineas was just being optimistic.
I guess. So then we have this indie nod the Doofenshmirtz and Doofenshmirtz from Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated.
Yeah, after hijacking the Flynn Fletcher car.
Yep.
And They actually goes to a car wash.
And then they have this Indiana Raiders of the Lost Ark fight on top of the car. And I love this. I love this subtle gag where Perry's like cowering because he knows it's about to happen, which of course is an homage to Indy fighting the big bald Nazi. And basically, it's called the propeller blades. In this case, he is, thank goodness, he is not called propeller blades. I don't want to see Doofenshmirtz get killed, but he's caught in the giant like car wash brush.
Yeah, and it sends him
roller.
flying.
Yep.
And funnily enough, he doesn't actually say "Curse you, Perry the Platypus" here.
It's probably in DC. Doofenshmirtz had a very rough day, Jacob. I don't think he needs to meet anyone's quotas for. I need to say, "Curse you, Perry the Platypus." Why do I have to say this right now?
Dragon, he blames Perry the Platypus. He curses Perry the Platypus even if he's not there.
Exactly. There you go.
Like so yeah.
Right.
So either way, even Perry has trouble with the car as he steps on the remote and it blasts off into space.
And then it lands miraculously and clean as the day as it lands. And of course, Mom, I have to see this when we build up the reveal of Linda, just, of like, oh my, who did this? The boys. They did this. Now this is actually worth getting excited about, Candace.
They cleaned my car.
Which, again, it's a win. It's a win for everyone except Candace, but I'm okay with that.
You gotta feel bad for Candace in this episode.
I don't know. Not again. She's just trying to get him in trouble. I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, so you feel bad for her, but it's also funny to see her lose.
That is true, yes.
It's like you kind of understand her exasperation, though. Like, which, of course, as we see, like takes its toll on her, as we see in Candace Against the Universe. But honestly, at that point, they weren't thinking that far ahead.
Is there an episode where she gets committed?
I don't believe so. I mean, there's an episode where Phineas and Ferb go to get busted, but I don't remember. I don't think there's actually an episode where she actually gets committed or anything.
She's not put in a loony bin ever in the show.
I don't think so. I mean, I rewatched the season, the series, like sometime last year, and I really don't. I honestly don't think she ever got committed at all.
Pottmeyer's really got to do an episode where she gets committed at some point.
Like, you really want to see her someone get committed?
No. I'm just saying, it just makes sense that think about it. After all these times that she's been pulling this, I don't know. And either just from the stress of like it never works out for her, or just from the parents just going like, what is her deal? I mean, is there like a therapy thing? Is like ever nothing?
Like Ellie B's like, I'm certain not, but she needs to be committed.
I'm saying it just feels like I'm not saying obviously it wouldn't be permanent, she wouldn't stay there, but it just feels like they do like a Helga on the Couch episode for her or something at least,
I mean, for the most part, I mean, she's harmless. Just people just think she's insane.
That's what I'm saying. People keep thinking she's insane. I don't know.
In reality, she's probably the sanest one of them all.
Yeah. Petty, but sane.
Yeah, technically she's telling the truth. She's not lying.
I guess that overall that does it for this one.
Yep, and that moves on to probably one of the more creatively titled episodes of the series. One Gnome Beach Party of Terror.
Of terror!
Yes, of terror.
So scary!
All right, Dragon, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I was impressed with this one. I gotta say.
Technically, this is the second episode to air, so like this is kind of like what Roller Coaster established. This one like really showed more and more what they were capable of.
Yeah, this is I mean, the gnome angle is already just really funny, and the reason why, which we'll get into, that's just priceless. But the fact that we're playing with the Candace formula this early on, I mean, we're in episode 2, whether it be the second segment with however it aired, but regardless, it's still episode 2, and we're doing this sort of thing already with the Candace formula. We're thinking, okay, we know how every episode's going to go. Well, not necessarily. Sometimes we could change it up.
Yep, if it benefits her exactly, sometimes she goes along with it.
I know, which was the first time I've seen it happen. So that's pretty interesting.
Yep. Remember, she doesn't always. I mean, it's what happens most of the time, but there are instances where she actually works with the boys. It's like, and as you know, like especially as the one from the ones you've seen, Night of the Living Pharmacist is actually one where she actually didn't even try to get them in trouble at all.
Oh, it was kind of like an end time situation, though.
Well, I know. I mean, circumstances called for it, of
Yeah, that's what I'm
course.
saying. I don't know if that one really counts, Jacob. That one's more of like, who's she gonna? Right now, she's gonna tell the parents when they're about to be turned into pharmacists.
I don't get the comment, but the most scary part about this episode is that Backyard Beach, the song got really popular for some reason. Like, that requires some explanation because I don't know how that's scary.
Well, no, well, Jacob, he just means it's either scary just how big it became overnight, or it's just scary perhaps if he doesn't like it.
Well, LAB offers their own explanation. Good song is certainly not one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's probably one
Yeah,
of those.
that's fair enough.
Oh,
But as you've noticed between these two episodes, Phineas's voice is quite different than it was in the first two episodes we saw.
well, yeah, I think it's because they brought in someone to do the singing.
Well, Phineas's voice didn't sing in this episode.
Oh, sorry, sorry for a second there. I thought you said Ferb.
No, but Phineas, his voice, you can tell Vincent has gone through a bit more gone through puberty at this point, so his voice
Gotcha.
is slowly settling into what would
The
become
Phineas we now know.
Yes, but speaking of which, Ferb did actually talk in this episode, but as you noticed, his singing voice was quite different.
Yeah.
The person who actually Ferb actually doesn't really sing that much. Well, and he actually does sing quite a bit, but it's usually never Thomas Sangster that sings as him. It's usually the show's composer, underscore composer Danny Jacob who provides Ferb's singing voice most of the time. It's like there are if you count end credit things, albums, and in episodes, there's only a total of basically 3 times where Thomas Sangster actually acted in a song for this show. It's I'll let you know when that happens. One of them was on the Christmas album, and another one was an end credit tag that will be coming up later. So that's some interesting background. I really love how blatantly it doesn't even sound like his normal voice. Yeah, it adds to the joke.
Correct.
All right. It's some other stuff is first appearance of several. If passing the Phineas established other stuff, this one cemented some other things. The first appearance of the platypus, Perry the platypus. I mean, it's not really used for comedy here, but it definitely was later on. And this is also the first appearance of Buford.
Yes, I noticed that.
It was actually voiced by one of the writers of the first season, Bobby Gaylor.
Okay.
He actually wrote a lot of episodes in the first season, and even though he didn't really write after the first season, he still stuck around to voice Buford. Of course, we also meet Stacy and Jenny. Of course, you know Stacy is voiced by Kelly Hu. This is actually the first time we hear her in the show.
Oh.
How do you remember Kelly Hu?
What do you mean, Kelly Hu in general, or do you mean Kelly Hu is Stacy on the show?
I mean, in general.
Okay, well, Kelly Hu, I mean, she does. Okay, so the biggest thing I think the biggest go-to probably is X2. She's Lady Deathstrike in X2. She is. I should know her for a lot of voice work. She was in Batman Under the Red Hood. She plays Black Mask's assistant. She is on the Arrowverse. She plays China White. Here's a good example, something recent. So Batman Soul of the Dragon, she plays Lady Shiva. Does a really good job.
Oh, nice.
Yes, again, she gets around, does a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's the Orville. She was on the Orville recently. It's kind of a live action example for her. Yeah, she gets around. She has a lot of good stuff. She's a good actress.
Yeah, she does quite extensive in both voice acting and live action work too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. She's a good fighter too. That's the other. That's why they put her in Soul of the Dragon. These people who can actually fight is the voice actors.
Yeah, she doesn't do that a lot in this show. It's LEB's I like Buford, definitely underrated. And one of the rare times Jenny has a semi-large role in an episode, and that's not saying much. Yeah, Jenny's Candace's other friend Stacy Jenny. Sorry, I kind of messed up there for a moment.
Yeah.
Candace's other friend Jenny. We don't actually see her that much. Like
Well, to be fair, we haven't really seen Stacy up to this point either.
I know, but Stacy's we definitely see Stacy more than Jenny.
Yeah. I mean, Stacy's cooler. She's Kelly Who, for Christ's sake. Come on.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, Jenny is actually voiced by Alison Stoner, who also voices Isabella.
Oh.
So there's that.
They probably didn't want Paramore.
Django, technically another character named Django. Technically, Jenny and Django are both voiced after, I believe, Swampy's grandkids.
Really, Swampy has grandkids?
I believe so. Yeah.
How old is Swampy anyway?
And I don't know. It's like they might just be. I think they might be his kids, but I do think he has grandkids.
All right.
I mean, I need to do some digging on that one. But
All right.
it's like another thing. Like you might have heard Buford's name as Von Stom in this episode.
Yep, that's what they say.
But it's supposed to be Van Stom.
So like is it a mistake or a retcon?
Like I want to say it was like the voice actor probably mispronounced it, but they might have just changed it.
Okay.
It's not really said if it's a retcon or an error. I don't know.
Right.
And as you point out, this is also the first time Candace doesn't actually tries to prevent Mom from finding out what the boys did.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, she doesn't really prevent it. She basically asks her not to put a stop to it. She's like saying, "No, this is exactly what happened."
Yep. And as we'll discuss, this is actually the first appearance, and most famously, of Doofenshmirtz's many tragic backstories.
Yes, I did notice that. We're going to get into that.
LEB has confirmation. Swampy is actually 62 years old.
Okay.
Currently, she says.
Yep.
All right.
Well, this would have been 15 years ago, so I guess,
So at the time, he would be like 47, so.
Even 47, is 47 a grandpa age?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, some people have kids pretty young.
I mean, I guess.
I'm not. I said I'm not sure if it's kids or his grandkids, but I do think he has grandkids at least at this point.
Okay. Well, at this point, yeah. But all right.
Like I said, I need to double check on that.
Okay.
And all right, that's about as far as the background goes for this one.
All right, let's do it then.
All right. So it's a sweltering day in the tri-state area, so hot that birds are burning out of the sky.
Yep. I love that, like you said, this is the perfect day to do nothing. And of course, we have Phineas saying, if we don't do something, the morning DJs win.
You got to stick it to those morning DJs.
I love the morning DJs. Like, no, we can't. Like, I wonder if that's a reference potentially to Do the Right Thing.
It's like, I mean, it's entirely possible. I don't know.
Doesn't matter. Do the right thing. It's basically you have Sam Jackson as the DJ, and the idea him like saying, it's hot out. And the idea, I'm just saying, it's kind of a mixture of a very iconic morning DJ, and just the fact that it's just very hot, like it is in that movie. I'm pulling at very loose threads here, mind you, kids. I'm just throwing out there as a potential. It's given we had a Raiders reference last episode. Go figure.
I was like, well, considering like there are a lot of references in this show that only really adults or even just people who watch a lot of stuff would even know.
Yeah.
So I was like, so it wouldn't be too surprising if that actually was an explicit reference to Do the Right Thing.
All right, so basically the plot, and I love this. I love how the mother is kind of in the loop initially here. She just says they're making a little beach in the backyard. It's a little cute thing where like they're in trunks and they're using a hose on the sandbox. It's so cute.
And that actually would be a pretty nice way to relax.
Yeah.
And even Candace is like, this isn't really bustable.
Exactly. Oh, Candace is like a little flummox here. Oh well, that's the rest of my day. All right.
and so it's like, carry on. We're gonna need more sand.
Yep. So then, of course, we have like this giant dump truck of sand. Aren't you a little young to be a landscaper? Yes, I am.
There's a landscape contractor.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
All right. So then we have then we have some background comedy as per usual here. We're kind of cycling this a little bit here when Candace is on the phone talking to Stacy and stuff's going on behind her.
If they actually have a dolphin this time.
Yep, and then of course she comes there initially. This is not even worth a call to Mom, and of course we we drop the thing and we reveal big old.
If you ever want to get anywhere in life, you got to stop playing in sandboxes.
So then we reveal, well, the sandbox is just the beginning, and behind them, behind the fence, as it comes down with the push of a button, big old beach.
Like if we were questioning the logistics and physics of the racetrack, and then how do you explain this?
Exactly. Well, at least we saw them build this. This they built. The racetrack is like, apparently it was there the whole time, but we never saw it.
Like, wouldn't you just love to be able to just, invent beachfront property at your own house?
I mean, Lex Luthor would have a field day with that because he loves beachfront property.
Like I said, wouldn't you just love to be able to invent it at your own house? In your backyard?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, this is the big status quo shift here, where Candace does not call mom, and
mainly because Stacy and Jenny come in and realize saying that Jeremy and his friends are going to be there.
And you're going to be so popular, Candace. What?
Yeah, her brothers are the ones that built the beach, of course. So popularity by association.
And they have a bunch of beach blanket fun. She becomes like Queen Wahine or something.
Yep, like she gets taken up by a crab into a limbo competition and wins and becomes queen of the beach.
Yep, so she's having a great time, and of course, because of this, Linda has like a disturbance in the force, or Candace hasn't called.
Well, it's more like a lack of disturbance.
You're right, a lack of disturbance in the force. Candace hasn't called me about anything, and I love that.
It's like, it's time to go home.
Yep, so something bad's happened. She ain't calling me.
That's like, you think she'd give her daughter more credit?
No, after all those interruptions, Jacob, no.
And it gets even worse.
Her daughter needs to be committed. This is a bad sign. Something's off.
All right, but meanwhile, Perry.
Forget this beach stuff, Jacob. Let's talk about the real focus of this episode. Let's talk about
Perry.
Yeah, okay. Yes, let's talk about Perry.
Like if you notice, he has different layer entrances as the series goes on.
I love it. Yeah, it's kind of somewhat akin to Get Smart. And bear in mind, Get Smart always had the same central location, but they would have all sorts of entrances elsewhere. Kind of espionage comedy.
And this one is like him jumping into a mushroom, going down the tube, and then when he gets down there, the hat comes out of a different tube.
That's good.
Yeah. And of course, we learn what Doofenshmirtz is doing. It's like all the gnomes in the tri-state area are disappearing. Everyone guards vulnerable to the attacks of black magic.
I love that they're taking the black magic thing seriously. Do you know anything about like the lawn gnome lore? Do you know?
Not specifically, no.
Yeah, neither do I. I was hoping you did.
I mean, I know more about how the gnomes work in this show than I do in actuality.
That's what I'm saying. I was wondering what the myth is behind the actual gnome, because I've seen Freakazoid take a stab at it, but I don't think that's necessarily the true version. But I don't know. It had something to do with magic, so maybe the black magic thing's on point. I don't know.
Like I said, I think this show isn't exactly. It's kind of exaggerating it a bit too.
Well, yeah, I mean, they find Frankenstein's brain in the opening, Jacob. Yes.
It's
over there.
It's over here.
So,
oh god.
Let's see. So we have we go to Doofenshmirtz's.
Ellie B says like lawn gnome lore, a powerful phrase.
Okay, so Perry has an ingenious plan to basically stop Doofenshmirtz. He dresses like a lawn gnome. And he gets sucked in. I love his idea. It has like this giant vacuum system practically. He kind of sucks all the lawn gnomes out of the ground and into his underground lair and subterranean lair. And of course, they basically had the money shot of the episode here where Doofenshmirtz looks all happy-go-lucky. Oh, look at this one.
Oh, this is a strange one.
Yep, and he gets then, bam, he gets punched in the face, and then he catches him. But he catches him, I think, the most hilarious way possible, because he uses all these remotes that he can't keep straight. And even in the underground lair, for some reason, Doofenshmirtz from Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated. Oh, he has a garage in the subterranean lair.
That's the garage door opener.
Why would he have a garage door down?
I don't know. This is a guy. This is a guy whose tragic backstory involves lawn gnomes.
I know. Don't. We're gonna get there in a second. All right, hold on.
But then the other remote turns on his giant TV.
That's the thing. I love that he's got all these remotes. It's a very relatable problem, and again connects the two episodes because Linda had problems with multiple remotes, and now Doofenshmirtz does. So he basically has like a little pet cage that shows up when he captures Perry and puts.
I'm gonna trap you now.
Yeah, I really got to label these.
Yeah, like and now, Perry the Platypus, you'll finally understand my pain.
So what is the Jacob? What is the ultimate way to torture Perry the Platypus?
What is the ultimate way to torture Perry the Platypus?
Monologuing backstory.
Yeah, he does that a lot. As you notice, this is like the first of Doofenshmirtz's tragic backstories, and it happens a lot.
I know. I just love the fact that the real torture is nothing for Perry the Platypus. It seems like death traps, the threat of bad stuff happening, like and doomsday stuff. This doesn't worry him at all. What worries him, what kind of gives him like that chill up his spine, that god feeling. That's when Doofenshmirtz talks about his childhood.
Trust me, as you'll see as we go on, it's like his childhood is tragic and hilarious.
So speaking of which, we should talk about what the deal with the lawn gnomes is.
Like the Doofenshmirtzes were apparently a proud family in the
back
country.
in Gimmelstoop.
Yeah, Gimmelstump, and Druselstein and all that. But apparently times were tough, and the family had to get the beloved lawn gnome repossessed.
Just the fact who's repossessing lawn gnomes?
It's like, I don't know. Apparently the people of Gimmelstump.
I just love that there seemed to be like a shortage or a monopoly on the lawn gnomes, in which these have a great value. They ward off black magic. Apparently, not just black magic. They ward off witches, spells, and wood trolls.
It's like, who would protect their gods? That's guarded from witches, spells, and wood trolls. From a tender age, my father decided it would be me.
And of course, I just love the father just saying off screen, like in I guess Jerusalem. What do you call the language?
It's actually German.
Oh, it is.
As if I got the niche.
Yes, don't move.
Like, I think Dan has some background in Germany. Like, I think he speaks German or knows German.
Well, that makes sense given the Heinz Doofenshmirtz of it all.
And of course, D. Baker, as we all know, spent some time in Germany.
That he did. He did.
So I was like, obviously there's that, which explains why he voices Klaus in American Dad.
Oh yeah. Let's see. So
it's like my only companion was the moon. And my neighbor Kenny.
I love the fact that like the neighbor. Does Kenny come back, Jacob?
It's like, I don't think Kenny's ever seen again.
Oh man. So I love the idea Doofenshmirtz had this little neighbor kid that occasionally he would basically, by comparison of whatever his terrible situation is, Kenny also doesn't have pretty good either. So little Kenny here, and Kenny, best part about Kenny here, he's dressed.
I think Kenny was like an adult or something.
So we might see Kenny as an adult?
I think Kenny was an adult, not a kid.
Oh, really?
Let me see.
I don't know, he looked like a kid. He was short.
It just says he's his neighbor.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It just says his neighbor, isn't? I mean, what do you think? Does he look like a kid?
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Well, I mean, Kenny here. I love that Kenny is dressed like a different sort of like lawn ornament. He is dressed as the little jockey with the little ring.
Yeah. Like, so times were tough in Druselstein.
Yeah.
Things were tough, and apparently multiple families did need to. LAB says, like, I do believe we see Kenny another flashback. Yeah,
we shall see.
Like, yeah, well, either way, yeah.
About 40 episodes from now, we'll see.
Maybe not even 40, maybe a bit more.
Maybe 7.
Yes, maybe 7. I don't think 7, but yes, maybe. Definitely
maybe 59.
Not. Maybe, but
okay.
So right, moving on to like the little lawn jockey, yeah. So clearly times were tough all across Jerusalem, and obviously this stems from Doofenshmirtz's tragic. And since my beloved lawn gnome was taken from me, I will destroy every lawn gnome in the entire tri-state area.
I love that this is a. I love how in person it's so ridiculous, and I love this sort of thing. It's so ridiculous. He's giving a very impassioned performance about like this revenge trauma mission that he's on.
Like, I know you're like a sucker for the mundanity of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know. I just love the fact. Yeah.
And believe it or not, a lot of Doofenshmirtz's inventions boil down to petty mundanity.
I know, which is brilliant. I'm digging it.
But they're just like he just overcomplicates everything.
So he then brings in the Recap-inator, a product from Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated.
You're gonna do that every time, aren't you?
I mean, it's really catchy.
Yes, it is. It's like almost impossible to say without doing the jingle.
Yeah, you gotta do it with the jingle. So anyway, he's activating the Recap-inator,
which the appearance actually does kind of freak out Perry a little bit.
I mean, yeah, it's really intimidating. Look at that thing; it's good. It's good. Yeah, it's gonna crush him. But yeah, he uses the wrong remote, and I love the reaction he gives. Like, no, he's the wrong remote that instantly frees Perry the Platypus instead of turning on the Recap-inator. And meanwhile, we have like beach shenanigans with Buford. You know, we kind of trip him with a hologram.
I was like, well, of course, Buford, like before the surfing contest, like, hello, Buford. Perhaps you didn't see the sign. No bully, no yodeling. I don't like this any more than you do.
Was that Bradley? Do you remember that was D. Bradley Baker as the yodeler?
Yeah, I think it was.
Makes sense.
You may be wondering what Phineas has against yodeling.
Do we find out?
Anyway, the surfing competition.
I guess we don't find out.
We don't find out.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So we have like Phineas apparently is the most amazing surfer ever because he's hanging 32, and then he's like surfing the wave of like the crowd's wave.
Not to mention the fact that he's like running around the surfboard as it circles around in the water.
I don't even know what that is, but yeah.
It's like, I don't think there's a name for that.
Yeah, and then we have the judges.
Well, there is a name for that because it's called breaking the laws of physics.
Yep.
Then again, considering these two the laws of physics really is merely more just of a suggestion of physics than anything else.
True. So then we have the judge's ruling, which is like 10 to the 5th power infinity, and then a judge questioning E equals MC squared.
Which technically is not the theory of relativity. That's the more energy mass equivalence than actual theory of relativity.
Okay.
But still, the gag works.
Yeah. I mean, still, he's questioning an equation, so, you know.
Yep. So.
Right.
So Phineas sure-handedly wins the surfing competition.
Now, seemingly things are all hunky-dory here, but
and
drama.
And of course, Candace is trying to impress Jeremy.
Yep, and before she can have her little pineapple kind of powwow with little Jeremy.
It's like she gets a call from her. It's like, what are Phineas and Ferb doing? It's like, such wonderful things.
So weirded out Linda is on the phone. I love that Linda's legitimately kind of disturbed by this. Like, I'm coming home.
And she goes like, wait, what?
Yep, and then Candace is like pleading for Linda for the beach here. No, this is the best day of my life. You gotta let me go back in there.
LEB suggests that Phineas rigged the surfing contest.
Well, he did have that hologram.
Like, well, I think that was just more preventative, so Buford didn't get him.
I agree. I think
because remember, Buford had Django in a full Nelson and a half Nelson, full Nelson, even beat him with Bobby Nelsons.
You know, LEB. Bringing up that point does raise an even better question, my friend.
Yeah.
Going an episode back here for a second. While Phineas is kind of like all shucks, all gee, kind of a nice, a nice, kind of all well-rounded, all American, let's say. But by the same token, though, he cheated during that race. So there's some not so again. As much as we've cleaned up, kind of like we got rid of the cynicism and kind of the sarcasm from this kid. It's he's a big old cheater pants. He's he's not directly lying, but his actions are that of a fibby boy. So yeah, he's there's some ethical concerns there. Ellie, I'm glad you pointed out. I don't think you rigged this. But he absolutely rigged that race.
Well, to be fair, they didn't know he was going to win. And The only one of the possible reasons he won is because of Doofenshmirtz's interference.
Hmm.
I mean, to be fair, he did have eyes on the road and someone else driving, so there's some split hairs and split gray hairs there.
You're not wrong, Jacob, but he did take that trophy though.
Yeah, I know. It's like maybe he just doesn't see what's wrong with it. What he did.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I get, ultimately it might be, maybe I'm being too harsh on the lad here. You know what it might be?
What?
Might just be, it's like a loophole thing. Well, there's nothing saying you can't use a remote control car so long as it's still racing against the other cars. Maybe that'll be it.
Like, well, keep in mind they do still do things that aren't exactly street legal later on.
Well, we're not talking about street legal. We're talking about like cheating in a contest.
I know, but still. So it's like there isn't. So yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Point being, as Candace is making her plea and just basically like telling Linda everything. It was just like, what? It's like, and there's like a whole beach and everything, and we were basically sounding like she's stark raving mad. Perry,
yes, again, not wrong. Just because who would believe that the boys would build a beach in the backyard?
That's the thing. Honestly, if Candace, well, again, it's the thing that where Candace is trying to stop her from bringing the hammer down, so she's doing something nice here. But mind you, it's self-motivated because she just wants it to keep going, and not for her to put a damper on things. But still, she's making this impassioned plea. Meanwhile, the whole beach,
yeah, and the gnome machine gets put into reverse.
Yep, and then it's basically it's gnome-ageddon.
It basically creates like a volcano rising above the beach.
Yep.
Is that a volcano? And it starts spewing lawn gnomes all over the place. Run for your lives! It's gnome-ageddon!
Gnome-ageddon!
Yep, you have lawn gnomes flying all over the place, crashing into people, which it's a good thing it broke and didn't impale anybody.
The end is gnome.
The end is gnome, yes.
The end is gnomes. All of I think the gritty reboot of Phineas and Ferb would take this episode, and the end would be a sobering moment in which it's just like Phineas and Ferb covered in blood, just looking at what's happening. Oh, these poor people, they were impaled. We just wanted a beach day. We didn't intend for this to happen. What's happening?
You really want the show to be more morbid than it is.
Oh, well, no, I'm just saying, like, if they did, like, nowadays we do these reboots, like, if there was, I know it's going to be more of a revival, if they did, like, a gritty reboot, that's probably what it would be.
I don't think a gritty reboot of this show would go over so well.
Neither do I, and for the reasons I just said, it's too traumatizing for kids.
Yep. I mean, and the thing is, this show doesn't even talk down to kids. That's the great thing about this show. It's like it treats its entire audience with respect and intelligence.
And then the gritty version of Perry the Platypus is now traumatized by what he's done to his young friends.
It's like he's like, I caused this to happen.
I was stopping a bad man. Yes, he just wanted to destroy the world's lawn gnomes, but I was stopping a bad man. It's not my fault. Which, by the way, before we end this episode, we got to mention, as you mentioned earlier, again that gag really is priceless. When Perry the Platypus, he removes the gnome costume, like, who are you? And of course he puts on a platypus and he puts on the hat. The hat is key to everything. I just love the fact the hat is so key. It's like the Clark Kent glasses, but a hat.
That happens actually quite a bit later on. Like I'm not going to explain all of them right now, but like basically there are only a few occasions early on where like Perry takes off the hat and Doofenshmirtz recognizes him. Almost every other time, like after this season, or even after just a few episodes, if he takes off the hat, he thinks it's an entirely different platypus.
It's really funny.
And even then, like, there's an episode where Perry and Candace switch minds, and then like a teenage girl puts on the hat. Perry, the teenage girl.
Oh God.
And then another one where it's like an entirely
random. Well, don't tell me about him. I get it. We'll do other hat gigs.
This one's in the third season, so it'll be a while anyway. Like where a completely different platypus gains Perry's hat, and he thinks it's Perry.
Okay.
So yeah, that's not the first time. Trust me, you'll be seeing plenty more of that gag as the series goes on.
All right. Well, speaking of which, our end credits coda here is Perry the Platypus, the theme song.
Well, of course, first off, the beach gets sucked away by the Recap-inator.
Yep, and then everything's back to being kind of scaled down, and Linda's none the wiser.
Yep, and it's like it was a way to beat the heat, and the radio DJ finally admitted to my new pals, Phineas and Ferb. Tomorrow, another scorcher, with a slight chance of scattered lawn gnomes. We had to get Ferb's line in there.
Yeah, Furby.
And of course, Ellie B is contributing to your darker and edgier reboot. Candace gets committed, several children get impaled, and Perry is traumatized.
Well, she's basically summarizing what we've said so far, but yeah.
Yeah, Perry's traumatized, an interesting pitch for a reboot.
yeah, it's the worst pitch for a reboot ever, but it's funny.
I mean, it would work in another show, not necessarily for this one.
God, yeah.
But yep, as you're about to mention, Dragon, the ending song is Perry's theme song.
Yeah, I get Perry's version of like Secret Agent Man, or in this case, Secret Agent Platypus.
It was actually one of the first songs written for this show. The first three songs written early on were obviously the theme song, a song in an upcoming episode from the episode Flop Stars, and this one. Basically, it was show them basically highlight the songs, and these are the songs that made Disney be like, you know what, guys, write a song for every episode.
Good.
But yep, and we actually do see an extended version of this song later on, and it was even extended even further for Across the Second Dimension. But yep, he's a furry little flatfoot and everything. Semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal of action. Apparently, the funny thing is, the writers actually got that by looking up a vague description of a platypus. The first line is a semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal, and they just added of action to it.
Yeah.
Do you want to know something funny about a lot of the songs in this show?
Okay.
A lot of them are actually just written in about an hour or so.
That's insane.
It's maybe an hour, maybe a couple hours, but a lot of the songs are actually written fairly quickly. I love the Perry song in my top 10 from this show, says Ellie B. It's a great song. I mean, it's like this. It's as Dragon pointed out, clearly taking notes from Secret Agent Man. And the singer is a man named Randy Crenshaw. He's done a lot of background vocals for other things. And this is probably the thing he's best known for now, funnily enough. But I can say it's a banger song, and you actually do hear it in its full capacity later on. So, yep, that's about it.
All right.
Is there anything else you want to say, Dragon, about either the song or the episodes or anything?
No, it's a great song, and it makes sense they would have kind of worked that in early on with the conception of the show. At some point, we gotta give Perry the full song that we get kind of this thing Perry from. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yep, he's a Perry. Yes. Yeah. All right. That's episode for tonight, folks. Thank you, Ellie B and Aquatad, for joining us and for all your guys' comments. And so join us next week on the Phineas and Ferb Recap-inator when the boys herd some cattle and combine summer and winter together. Good night, everybody. My beloved lawn gnomes.
Not the cheese.